Hey superstar, if you want to live longer and boost your bank account, stick around. My name is Tandisa Mahe and I'm a forever living business owner and I'm truly enjoying this journey. I must say, I am truly enjoying this journey. Today I want to talk about something that, really we battle with and that really holds us back in the space of business if we do not take care of it. And I have titled this one, Why We Must Heal in Order for Us to Thrive. This space is so, neglected a lot of times. And when we are seeing things happening in our lives that we don't understand, more on the negative side of the world, we always have so many different reasons and we never align it to that. Sometimes it's because we are refusing to heal emotionally and it spills over into other areas of our lives and it holds us back. But let's talk about it. As we go, please don't forget to like this video, to subscribe to this channel, and to also tell me in the comment section where you are joining us from. I think I will start with actually why I decided to actually have a conversation or talk about this topic. And it really stems from the fact that, from me and those that are around me, I have been able to assess and grasp that sometimes, even when you get success or when you grow or when you develop and the great things that are happening in your life, you somehow still feel like there's something broken on the inside of you. And it's not because truly there is something broken, but it's because we are lacking emotional healing. We are afraid of taking the steps that are needed in order for us to heal emotionally from so many different things, from so many different things. But I want us to start at I am not a practitioner or a professional in this industry. And I would like those who are to also engage and to give us some tools and to help us with this. But I just want to bring an awareness to all of us that this is something that we need to be looking at. It's something that we need to improve. It's something that we need to work on. And obviously go to professionals for, the help that we need. So understanding emotional healing for me, I think it's an understanding that as people, we are at one point or another exposed to trauma. At first, a lot of people might think that trauma is, if you've been exposed to the army or if you've seen like horrific, like they want to take it to that level and those kind of examples of trauma. But let me tell you something. You could have experienced trauma as a child, for an example, in your growing up, in the way in which you grew up, in the way in which your parents handled you, in the way there are so many examples that I could actually make. But at the center of what I'm trying to say is that you and I could have experienced trauma. Now, the problem is that in our societies, in our communities, in our families, no one really understands trauma and how it can affect unresolved trauma, unhealed trauma, how it can spill over into your life now as an adult. It shows itself because the body keeps the score. I once read that book. Because our bodies, when we've been traumatized by anything, they keep that. They don't forget. We walk around with it and it influences our decisions, our habits, our relationships, like everything that we do. And sometimes we don't have a full understanding about what is actually happening. When's it can? Why am I like this? Why is my life like this? But sometimes it's because of unresolved trauma, unhealed trauma. Now, it is our responsibility as this generation, as these, like at least more exposed youths and people, to actually seek out healing to those parts. And I'm also going to challenge the Christian faith or Christians because in the Christian space, I'm a Christian myself. In the Christian space, there is no space. Most of the time, there is no space for healing. There is no space for healing. And you might look at me and be like, what do you mean? Because we are always talking about healing. Listen, there's no space for healing of trauma. I'm telling you. And we need to start being open to that conversation. And we need to start being open to that reality. People have trauma. As people, we walk around with this trauma and we need to heal from it. Because the more we do not heal from it, it's the more it will take precedence in our lives, it will control our lives, it will spill over to areas that we don't want it spilling over. It is important to understand that it's there. You can never get to a place of healing without first acknowledging. You can't. If you're still in denial, if you are, rejecting the existence of, you are far from taking the necessary steps towards the actual healing. But I think, Mna, when you are living your life from that place of having that trauma, you are limiting yourself. You are living from a place of limitedness. Soze ufike kwi-full potential yakho usepha. And you might be thinking it's easier to ignore and shove and push back and pretend like it's not there, because it is easier because it doesn't, when you do that, you don't put in the work. You might think it's easier. I'm Kulula, let me just, forget about it. It's already too late. It's never too late to start healing. And on the other hand, you might be thinking you are living. You are not. You might just be surviving. You are not thriving, because that holds you from actually experiencing the fullness and the richness of your life. Yabo. And I think this process also, it kind of brings us to a point of being aware of our emotions. Sometimes you become emotional, and that's okay. But why in inappropriate levels, in inappropriate settings, And why are you not able to control that? And why are you behaving like that, though? Why are your emotions like that? And let me tell you something, there's nothing wrong with emotions. And those funny feelings that come with, working through traumatic backgrounds, traumatic experiences, and trying to start the journey of healing, you will get those funny emotions. You will get those uncomfortable, let me say uncomfortable emotions, and they're okay. Those feelings, because what I saw with me, what will hold you from actually starting a process of healing is that you don't want to feel those feelings that you felt, that trauma brings back and that it brings up. You don't want to go there. You don't want to open that door. You don't want to knock on it. You just don't want to go there because it feels but then those feelings are okay, because those feelings are a sign that there's work that needs, they are signals that there's work that needs to go into that space, into that specific area, into that specific topic, into that landau, Leah. And it's okay to allow them. There are many different professionals that can help us hold our hands and walk with us the journey of actually healing. I think there is beauty in healing those parts of you. If it were to be that, those spaces where you felt trauma and you can just forget, you can't. That's the painful point. You can't forget. And you need to put in the work to heal. I think what brings this to my attention is the fact that you might attain the highest of success, but if you haven't healed, you will still be sad. You will still be sad. You'll still, have those aspects within you where you're like, but why do I still have a void? But why do I still feel yucky even though I am the most successful? Because that healing work, we need to put in that healing work. And there's this other thing that I keep discovering about healing, the fact that it requires you to be vulnerable. Healing cannot happen without vulnerability. And that is the scariest part, because once you have experienced trauma, sometimes you put your walls up and you put parameters in place to protect yourself from things that have hurt you and the pain that you've experienced before, and you don't want a replication of that. So you block and you are strong and you don't want any vulnerability and you don't want any. But the thing is, you can't heal without that, because in the process of healing, you will be required to speak to someone and trust that person. While there's a high possibility that they could break that trust, they could even hurt you with that information. But what do? You weigh those two options. Is it worth it to just keep everything inside and not heal and not work through that trauma and through that pain? Or can I, open the door a little bit to vulnerability, which could potentially give me the healing that I require so that I can be a better person and not be angry and not be bitter and not be, feeling all of that pain and not be resentful. Yonke lando ihamba with that trauma because there's a lot that it goes with it. And then there's the cost of actually ignoring all of this and ignoring healing and ignoring these emotions and feelings. But I think the cost is great because that cost, yeah, it's really high. When you ignore, it robs you of your creativity. It robs you of your brightness. It robs you of being able to go out there and live life to the full. It blocks your joy. It really does. It blocks the joy that you are supposed to be experiencing in life. And I think what really helps as well in the whole process is self-compassion. We lack self-compassion, Tina. I think we faff and we always obsess about others. Like, how are others going to feel about this? How are they, like, we live from an external locus of control. It's all about others. But like, you will always put others before you. Why? For instance, just an example. And you would always be considerate of someone else. But what about being considerate of yourself? So self-compassion is very important, where you allow yourself, you love on yourself. Like, you, in the process of healing and dealing with, traumatic experiences, you love on yourself. Like, you become soft to you. You become kind to you. You use kind words to yourself. You prioritize yourself. I'm not talking about selfishness, but I'm talking about self-compassion. I'm talking about self-love. I'm talking about kindness to your soul, like being kind to you, speaking in a kind manner, being gentle with you. That doesn't mean you have to be a marshmallow and fall apart. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about extending self-compassion. I think also in terms of, because remember, when you are now healing, you have to look at the things that you have done. Yes, it's the pain, but then there are other things that now uzenzile who post the pain to cope, to manage it, and they were sometimes were bad decisions and stuff like that, and you compromised yourself, and you can look at that and be like, oh, I did compromise myself here. That is not a crucifixion statement where now and stuff, but it's like acknowledging what happened, compassionate with you, being kind to you because you have made that mistake, because you were at fault here. But how do you then, embrace yourself, even though those things are real and you have to look at them and you have to learn from them? But ungavele ube so harsh with yourself. Life is harsh enough on its own. You don't have to do it to yourself as well. And yeah, you start, once you are in the process, you start reintroducing like healthier, emotional habits into your routines, your thinking, your patterns. But obviously it depends at where you are in the journey. But I think what I want to do with this video is to say it's okay for us to start healing and to be in a process of healing. I think also the reason why I'm talking about this is so that our society can also be kind to people that are in their own healing journeys, and allow people to be in their own healing journeys and stop labeling the need for healing and the process of healing and those that need healing as people who are, like, not strong and get over it. And we need to stop that, because the things that as people we experience are deep and are painful, and we need space to work through that so that we can, I think also when you're looking at our society, especially here in South Africa, you will find that there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of bitterness, and you see it expressed sometimes like you on platforms like social media, where people are just bleeding on each other, bleeding left, right, and center, and it's because we don't heal. And I just wanted us to start this conversation on, taking that leap of faith, that step. And it's not going to be easy. It can never be easy. But I think, once you start, you can grow. And you can be in a lifelong healing journey, because the thing is that there might be past trauma, but there's daily trauma as well. There are other traumas that you're experiencing as you continue. So I think it's important that we have this conversation, and that we grow in it. We allow ourselves to be, okay with healing. And I think the more we empower ourselves and we get the right tools, we can be able to, be better people. And when now future traumas come, you are empowered to can handle them, to can work through them quicker as well than before, because now you know what to do, you know how to face it, you are much more stronger to face it. And you will then be able to truly live, because I think when you are filled with pain, you can't, excuse me, you can't live, you can't thrive, you can't truly enjoy this thing called life, because that pain is going to be everywhere you touch, everywhere you go, on everything that you do, and it's going to keep tainting everything. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section. At what path are you? What are your thoughts on healing, emotional healing specifically? Have you ever gone on this journey? Share with us, if you are comfortable with sharing, and ask your questions if you will, and we'll engage. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. And until next time, stay absolutely blessed.